In a world where there are many atrocities happening all at once, some get more publicity than others, but when it comes to terror attacks in Western society, the coverage given to them is immense and overwhelming. As technology has advanced, the speed and delivery of the news is so precise and details of the event are provided to the viewer near flawlessly, you can't help but stand in awe at the ability to not only deliver the news under the circumstances, but also gather the information such as photos, videos and interviews without much delay. This documentary is called On the Face of It, Manchester, as we, the general public, should review this event ourselves with our own eyes and our own minds without all the noise. When this event occurred, it grabbed my attention more than any other Western society terror attack due to its close proximity but also the level of detail in terms of the victims that were involved. That said, some details were and still are sketchy, and since this event is now seemingly concluded, I cannot simply forget about them. That is why in this documentary we will look at the key elements that make up the official narrative, and from reviewing these elements at a normal pace, rather than the fast-paced, quick cuts that the news typically show, we can work out if there are any inconsistencies and what that means to the narrative provided. Please understand, if you are watching this and you were directly or indirectly affected by this event, this documentary has not been made to offend or upset. It has been made in hope that people will independently think about the details that are being given to them by the media at the time and not just taking them on face value. It is very easy to simply read a headline or get a feel for an event based on minimal exposure to it, but in reality there's a lot more to them, especially in the case of the Manchester Arena bombing. So for example, did you know that the fire brigade were told to stand down and not assist other emergency services? Given the nature of this event, it seems a strange call to make, and this command resulted in a fireman writing a letter talking about their shame and anger. I mean, the letter is totally understandable because ultimately they're angry because they're witnessing what was happening on the news and they weren't allowed to do anything about it. So from my point of view, and hopefully yours too, the question is why? It is these kind of questions and inconsistencies that if at this point you are keen to know more, then please watch on, as we're going to get up to speed with the basic outline as to what happened on that night based on the official narrative. Note, this documentary has not been made to force an opinion or viewpoint on you. It is to simply look at the evidence that has been presented to the public and logically analyse it in hope that you will form your own opinion on the event in general. The Manchester Arena bombing was the deadliest attack in the UK since the 7th of July London bombings in 2005. The artist performing at the Manchester Arena was a pop star called Ariana Grande, who was on her Dangerous Woman tour. On the 22nd of May 2017, a 22-year-old male detonated a homemade shrapnel-laden bomb which resulted in the deaths of 22 people. It was originally reported that 59 people were injured. This then became 119, but then on the 22nd of June, this figure was revised by the police to 250. The 22-year-old detonated the bomb at 22:31 within the foyer area of the Manchester Arena. The people affected by the blast were either waiting in the foyer for others or people leaving the concert. 60 ambulances were sent to the arena to handle the injured that were coming out both the train station exit and the arena exits. The Manchester Arena was opened in 1995, 22 years before the attack. Whilst the maximum capacity of the Manchester Arena is 21,000, the attendance for this concert was recorded to be 14,200. The train station situated under and next to the arena was closed for the first week, with the arena itself remaining closed until the 9th of September 2017. In between this time, a benefit concert called the One Love Manchester was held on the 4th of June 2017, with free tickets being given to those who attended the original show. A total of 55,000 attended this concert. A total of 22 people were arrested in connection with the attack, but all have been released without charge. The Manchester Arena foyer prior to the attack was classed as a public place as it linked up car parks to the arena, the train station to the arena, and also 3 months prior to the attack, a McDonald's which had been situated in the foyer for the past 17 years. The foyer was open to the public mainly due to the box office, whereby tickets could be bought for upcoming events. To get into the arena itself, you would have to present your ticket at the doors, and once in, you would be standing in the concourse. This concourse ran around the outside of the arena itself, and you would find stalls such as food, drink, and merchandise being sold. Toilets are also situated in the concourse too. You would follow signs in the concourse to find your specific seat, or if lucky enough, the floor area. To get to your seat or floor area, you would pass through doors which typically are open ready with a member of staff on hand to point you in the right direction. In effect, the concourse acts as a divide between the arena and the foyer. The security which was manning the doors and each seating area was a firm called SHOSEC. One of the main entrances into the foyer is via a walkway which connects the train station to the foyer. From ground level within the train station, you can either use the stairs or a lift, which takes you onto a walkway which goes over part of the train station and into the foyer. You then pass through some automatic glass doors and you're into the foyer itself. The bomber is said to have used the lift to get to the walkway and then through into the foyer. In the last chapter, I concluded by saying that the bomber used the lift before using the walkway. However, since the purpose of this documentary is to analyse every bit of information we are given, is this actually correct? Soon after the attack, these photographs were released to the public. Based on this article, when the police released these pictures, they would not confirm whether they were in fact from the lift. Now this is a problem for me because in one hand you have the newspaper stating it without the police confirming it, and for me that's just misinformation. This is why all evidence presented must be judged on its own merit, otherwise we'll just end up believing anything that we are told. Ultimately though, does this picture confirm that he used the lift and he is in fact heading towards the Manchester Arena? Well, of course it doesn't. It's simply blacked out. This could have been taken at any time, at any place. The same can be said about these two pictures. These two pictures are supposed to show Salman Abedi buying a rucksack that he would end up using for the bombing, and that this is from inside the Manchester Arndale Centre. Why is it, especially in light of a terror attack, when it comes to CCTV, either the public are never released any, or what they do show is so grainy that you can't actually make out what is being shown to you, and therefore you're just left with the headline itself explaining what it is it's supposed to show? What you're watching here is a riot that happened in 2011 in Manchester, and as you can see, these cameras that are in the Arndale are perfectly fine. They zoom in on people and you could recognise their faces if you wanted to, so why are the ones for Salman Abedi so blurred? Since the public can be provided CCTV footage of him doing his shopping, or in this case emptying his bins, I don't think it's too much to ask seeing the actual bomber walking across the walkway into the foyer, especially since that on every post that has a light on it there is in fact a CCTV camera, and as you can see at the entrance to the foyer there's also a camera there too. If we had this, it would be conclusive. It is seriously important as well because certain witnesses like Emma Johnson, who was in the foyer at the time of the explosion, states that she actually saw a gentleman wearing a red jacket before the explosion went off. Based on this article that was released in the public, it says there that a man in a red jacket was spotted before the explosion. Now this red jacket, grey jacket confusion could simply be squashed by CCTV, showing either a guy in a grey jacket walking in, or a guy in a red jacket. But since we've been provided nothing, then what of Emma Johnson's story? Is she lying, or is she telling the truth? We finished the last chapter on this picture, so let's focus on the sequence of events based on this article provided to the public. Number 1, it says that doors opened at 6 PM, letting in 21,000 fans for a sellout concert. This isn't correct as only 14,200 attended. Number 2, it says that at 10:30 a balloon spectacular marks the end of the show and thousands begin to leave. Is this actually correct? That was the actual song at the arena and you could see the balloons. However, when marrying this song up to the night's playlist, it wasn't even the second to last song. Number 3, we've already highlighted the issue with the red jacket, but it says that the man is spotted at 10:32 before a bomb-like bang is heard. This is not correct against the official narrative which states the bomb went off at 10:31. Number 4, at 10:35 police are called to reports of an explosion. Again, this is not correct since the official narrative is that the first calls came in at 10:33, as per the official timeline given. And finally, number 5, it says that unaccompanied children were taken to hotels for the night. This is also not true. Whilst you could potentially argue that newspapers may not have its facts in order, where did they get them from to confidently publish them in the first place? Emma Johnson regarding the red jacket? Or how about Paula Robinson regarding the children taken to the hotels?
Now, some people have called her the Angel of Manchester, but Paula Robinson says she just wanted to help.
Anyone is looking for the children, they're making the way to the Holiday Inn, make your way to the Holiday Inn, and put my phone number on for people to ring me while I was there.
So here are the social media posts that Paula is talking about. As you can see, she first says that she's got loads of kids with them and are taking them to the Premier Inn, which is here. She then says she's taking as many kids as they could to the Holiday Inn, which is here. Finally, she confirms about 50 kids are safe. The thing is, whilst Paula not only featured on mainstream media with Channel 4, she also featured on the BBC, and here's what she had to say.
So you've had parents calling you today, have you?
Hundreds and hundreds on my phone, and all with pictures of the children, and just, do I recognise them? Did I see them? Have I got their child with me? And things like that, which I haven't.
This is the only element of this whole story that is true. Paula Robinson did not have any children with her. This is then reinforced by not only the Holiday Inn and the Premier Inn stating that they had no children coming in unaccompanied, but also too by the police. So what is more likely? That on the night, Paula and her husband think it would be a good idea to pretend and act out the scenario using social media as described moments after a terror attack for nothing more than getting their 5 minutes of fame, but in doing so have managed to fool hundreds of thousands of people along with the BBC and Channel 4. If that was the case, you would think that the media would drag her name through the mud for fabricating the story, just like people who have claimed to have survived the Grenfell Tower fire. Or is it more likely that the story has been made up by the media as a puff piece and Paula is just simply playing her part? If that is the case, then how can a story be made up in advance and played out in real time on social media without any foreknowledge? Whatever you want to believe, the fact is that Paula's story is not true, and the same media that reported it to start with didn't correct the public. Here is another foyer witness. Andy Holy claims to have been in the foyer when the blast went off, and despite being blown off his feet, through the tickets doors and into the concourse wall, he had no physical injuries. Andy was the first person to contact the BBC to provide further details on what had just happened. Whilst I don't want to talk too much about his story to the BBC being completely different to the story that he gave to the Liverpool Echo newspaper, this chapter is about the timeline, so what does Andy Holy have to say?
They went in, and I just went back to the room and that, and then about 10 past 10 I made my way to the upstairs foyer, which is a big waiting area before you go in, right near the box office where the actual bomb went off. I was stood pretty much where it went off, so it got to about past 30 and the singing stopped, so me and the girl said, oh, it must be finished, to be out now. And then about 2 minutes later she started singing an encore, and this is where I think this bomber's got it wrong. I think he didn't know she was doing an encore, and he's come up there ready. People are starting to come out. She started singing again, and I think if she hadn't sang that song it would have been 5 times worse, because you'd have had everyone coming out. So it got to about 25 to, I'm talking to the girl, and there was the loudest noise I've ever heard. The floor shook. I got forced through the door, across the walkway that goes around the arena, and landed near the wall. Physically I'm alright.
Now, hand on heart, do you believe that Andy was in the foyer based on his account? Bear in mind that his timeline is off. He says the concert hadn't finished, which it had. He says that he was right next to the bomb, was thrown off his feet against a wall, but was totally unharmed by either that or the bomb. If you do not believe his story, then how is it that Andy was given VIP tickets to attend the One Love Manchester concert, mingling with BBC staff? Like Paula Robinson, did he have them fooled too? One thing is for sure, Andy likes to ask for free stuff. Do you remember seeing this piece of footage? It was played over and over on the news. Since you are now familiar with the foyer layout, these people have come from the foyer, from out the glass doors, along the walkway and down the stairs. This footage came from a boy called Zach Bruce, and he left the concert early and on his way out heard the bomb, filmed this and then went back to the hotel. Now I'm not too sure why, but he ended up tweeting this when he got back to the hotel. It seems a very strange thing to do just after what you've just witnessed. He was interviewed the next morning by an American news station called CBS, where he too had issues keeping his story straight. In one story he left and didn't know what happened until he got back to the hotel. but then is credited for filming this. How could he film this and not know what had happened?
That's because I just took the video. I heard the explosion. I took the video, and then I just walked to my hotel because I didn't think it was anything serious.
He has left early, heard something, and seen the very people who would have been waiting in the foyer. How could he not know it was serious? Could he not tell from the people running down the stairs? In any case, Zach uploaded the footage to YouTube, and even in his description he says that this footage was before the bomb went off. How can that be? How about another person who got media attention? This is Chris Pawley. He too also left early, and in doing so captured footage when running away via the train station. When asked by the BBC via Twitter as to when the explosion happened, he specifically says 22:30 because his footage was taken at 22:31. If the official time of the bomb going off is 22:31, how is this possible? I personally do not believe his account, and stranger still, he was also in Barcelona when terror struck there too. Since this chapter is about the timeline, whose timeline are we supposed to believe? The official police narrative, the man in the foyer, the man running away, or Zach, who didn't know what happened, filmed anyway and said it was before the blast? In any case, the news present this information to you regardless of its inconsistencies and possible fabrication, as it roughly fits the narrative. From my point of view, this is not acceptable when you're talking about an event of this magnitude. In the next chapter we'll look at the foyer itself. Now we're going to look at the foyer. In terms of the timeline, we'll park that issue for now. Since the official narrative is that a bomb has gone off, based on the newspapers such as The Guardian, which said the bomb caused a crater and a skylight was shattered, the TV news repeatedly showing people panicking, and witnesses' versions like Kim and Phil Dick, who were also in the foyer, used words like black ash, acrid smoke, and rubble and dust everywhere, you would assume that the foyer, which is in effect one big room, would be in a terrible state, just as the news said. If this dashcam, which managed to pick up the sound of the blast 280 metres away with music playing in the car, then this must have been a big bomb. Many people have compared this bomb to that of the Manchester IRA bomb in 1996, but how about the IRA nail bomb of 1982? If we agree that the arena nuts and bolts bomb was big, how does it compare? A warning in advance for showing this picture, but it is necessary when reviewing the evidence presented. As you can see, this is an open area and the devastation is huge. It is logical to think that in an enclosed environment the scene would be much worse. So what has been presented to the public in terms of the Manchester arena bombing? This. This is the only picture that clearly shows the inside of the foyer. Again, this documentary has been made to clear your mind of what you have been told and just judge each piece of evidence individually. So, in this picture, do you see a crater? Do you see shattered glass? Do you see nuts and bolts in the doors and walls? Do you see rubble, smoke or ash? Do you see anywhere near the same levels of blood as per the previous picture? It might be a morbid set of questions, but again, this event being the magnitude that it is, needs to be questioned. This picture was taken approximately here and is pointing in this direction with the ticket doors on the right. The official narrative is that 22 people died and 250 people were injured. It is not conclusive from this picture, but it does not look like that amount of people are seen. Even one person on the floor is looking at their mobile phone. Note, the newspapers typically blur such people out, which will make you believe it's for respectful purposes, when in this case it is so that you do not see what it is for yourself. Andy Holy, who we've spoken about before, claims to be this gentleman here. In his full story, he claims that once he got back up off the concourse floor, he went back into the foyer and started checking the dead bodies and assisting staff. He told the BBC at 23:50 that night that he saw approximately 20 to 30 people in the foyer. It is my belief that this man is not Andy Holy, because the man here has a bald head, which Andy doesn't. If he is lying about this, as well as his other inconsistencies, how could Andy know how many people were in the foyer without actually being there? Another key witness is Darren Costa. Darren credits himself to being this gentleman here, and in Darren's version of events, he ran up to the foyer after hearing the bomb going off, and the first thing he did was drag the bomber's torso from the concourse back into the foyer. How he has managed that without blood being everywhere is beyond me. Darren on his personal Facebook page also states that it was a small bomb. If that is the case, then how did the dash cam pick it up? The final piece of revealing evidence Darren provides is that whilst he says he was in the foyer helping, he says that he did not see any dead or injured children. How can this be? Darren did feature, whilst only briefly, on the recently aired ITV documentary 100 Days After Manchester. It's a pity the ITV didn't get him to explain this key point. If Darren didn't see any children, then what of the story of the two homeless men? One was pulling nails out of children's arms and faces, with the other talking to a young girl who had no legs. Not much has been said about Stephen Jones, who's the one on the right, but a lot has been said about Chris Parker. Chris Parker states that when he heard the bomb, he ran into the foyer and saw a small girl with no legs. He asks the girl where her parents are, and she replies. The newspaper don't mention whether this girl survived or not, but they then move on to say that Chris held a woman in her 60s in his arms till she passed away. The public and press clearly didn't fact check this because the oldest person to have died was 51. Does this person look like someone you would describe to be in their 60s? Well, regardless of this, £50,000 was raised for Chris. This money has been put on hold as he is due to appear in court in January 2018 for allegedly stealing a bank card and a mobile phone whilst helping the injured. The thing is, if his story is not true, then how can his criminal charges be true as well? This documentary has been made in October 2017, so we'll have to wait and see what happens to Chris since he's entered a plea of not guilty. So who else can we see in the foyer picture? So looking at this picture, we can see what looks to be paramedics, police and members of Showsec. The thing is, what if I told you that they're not paramedics and they're not police? Prince Charles and Camilla were allowed to visit the arena the day after the bombing, and they met the staff who were first on the scene. This is the on-site medical team for the venue, not the paramedics. In actual fact, this is the only paramedic on the scene, a gentleman called Paddy Ennis. Paddy was the only paramedic allowed in the foyer for the first hour. Now I'm going to go off course a little here, but the official reason for the 60 ambulances having to wait outside for the first hour was to allow the police to sweep the building in case of any other devices. This is a fairly good reason, but when you have a room full of injured and dying people, you would think that the room could have been cleared to allow medical assistance sooner than that. Maybe that's just me, but we'll be coming back to this point later. So these people who look like police are in fact the Manchester Victoria train station security. If you visit the train station even now, you'll see them walking around looking like police, but they're in fact a private firm. What this concludes is that this picture was taken very soon after the blast. So how about the security staff for Showsec? I've been researching this event in great detail and I cannot find a single statement from Showsec regarding this event. This is very strange because many witnesses such as Dawn Wader were saying such things as
but it was just absolutely horrendous and the security was awful. I'm sorry to say that the security did nothing about it, and there should have been more security, and we walked through the doors when we had our tickets and they scan your tickets and we wasn't even checked. They never checked bags at all. I never saw them check anybody's bags.
She even then crossed the road and ended up doing another interview with a different news station, but said a similar thing.
What goes through my head is security, for one. We didn't get checked. Our bags never got checked as we walked in. There was plenty of security guards, but they just seemed to be interested in getting people in, scanning the tickets, and then showing them to the seats. But they never checked our bags at all. I could have walked through with a rucksack, I'm sure of it, and then wasn't even bothered. It was just lack of security.
Even Zach Bruce made a comment on security.
Well, the weird thing was, I went to show them a ticket, but when I was going there, no one scanned me, see if I had anything on me. I just showed them my ticket and then they let me in. And the same goes to the other people who were there. No one was searching bags or nothing.
And so did these two guys.
Apparently bags weren't being checked.
We never got checked
No.
when we entered the venue. A few people that we spoke to, like friends that were met before and after the gig, they said their bags weren't checked or anything like that. And usually, like, I'm quite a regular gig goer, so I'm used to getting bags checked for security purposes, but there was no, just scanned the ticket, went straight in. No security checks whatsoever.
There's plenty of news articles talking about the subject of security, and what I find most bizarre is that even though this was put out to the public, the public seem unfazed that the same security firm was allowed to look after the vigil which was held the next day, and also the One Love Manchester concert too. Since an inquiry and investigation was going on, you'd think that they would stand down until the dust settled, but as I say, no one seemed to mind and it was business as usual. In reality though, these witnesses in the newspaper articles are a red herring. They're a red herring because the foyer is an open public place. The security had no bearing on the actions of the bomber as he did not enter the arena. So why would these people almost scripted in saying such things and the newspaper report on them? Well, it's because they now have changed the foyer. It now has plenty of security and even metal detectors, and you can't even get up the stairs now as it's blocked by Shosek. In any case, I think under the circumstances of the attack, hearing from this company or this man would have been useful, but as I say, we had nothing. Just as a reminder, this photograph was taken approximately here in this direction. You're about to watch a video which was taken approximately here in this direction. The angle is similar to the picture, but still pointing mostly towards the blast area. What the person filming does do, however, is pan around to see the room more in its entirety. This video has never been made public. Stills of the video have never been used in newspapers, nor the video shown officially online or on television. Just like the picture, we're reviewing this evidence with a clear mind and open eyes. We will first watch this without sound, and then again, but with sound. Based on what has been discussed so far in this documentary, do you have any observations? We will now watch this with sound. You're going to hear the train station emergency tannoy announcement for the most part.
Public safety announcement. Due to an incident, it is necessary to evacuate the area. Please leave the building immediately by the nearest exit. Attention please, attention please. This is a public safety announcement. Due to an incident, it is necessary to evacuate the area. Please leave by the nearest exit.
We need some help,
Once again, hand on heart, does this look like the scene of a bombing, and by further extension, a scene described by so many, including the media? The only paramedic in the room who told newspapers he didn't know what to do for the best due to the amount of people needing help can be seen casually walking around after talking to what looks like a train ticket conductor. There doesn't seem to be any sense of panic or urgency in this video. Where are the injured? 59, 119 or the 250? Whatever the figure may be, this room is very empty and there's very little by way of noise of people crying out for help. I'll be providing my personal conclusion on this matter towards the end of the documentary, but for now, feel free to re-watch and look at the video in detail, especially if this is the first time you have seen it. When doing so, ask yourself this question: if the media are happy to show you the picture, why not the video? Now we're going to look at the concourse area. Whilst Andy Holy had been blown off his feet, out of the foyer and into the concourse, Nick Bickerstaff was also in the foyer. He doesn't state what time the bomb went off or where specifically he was in the foyer, but after the bomb went off, he then stood in the concourse and recorded himself whilst looking for his daughter. And here's the video.
People are laughing and they don't know what's behind me. People bashed into bits and half their bodies are everywhere. Oh! Ellen! Ellen! Ellen!
So based on this map, Nick has left the foyer and all those in it, where it says 206, and walked by the bomber's torso, which Darren Costa ended up moving, and then headed towards 210 to 11. He begins filming there, and the first screenshot we'll look at is back down towards the foyer. In this frame you can see two members of Shosek, and if he's so concerned in finding his daughter, then he could ask them what's happened or ask for help, but he doesn't. In this portion of the video, it seems like people are mimicking him when shouting Ellen, and later in the video he says that people are laughing at him. Then another Shosek member can be seen in this clip. Then he nearly bumps into another one. This next frame confirms where he is in the concourse, but more importantly, watch the video back and look at everybody else's demeanour. Everyone's calm but him. The final bit of the video is the most telling, and that's because within this video he describes in great detail the bodies that he has seen. He can only know that if he's actually there, but again we have another person in the blast radius uninjured, but also completely clear of any debris, dust or blood from others. If he wasn't in the foyer, and you think this guy is a chancer based on the video he's recording, then how could he know about the bodies? Whilst you think about that, also ask yourself, why would anyone film themselves under these circumstances? Why not just ring the daughter? Did he not know the seat number she was sitting in, as he seems to be just staying in one particular area rather than running around properly looking for her? Why not ask help from Shosek, or at the very least, alert them to what has happened? If you're wondering why he recorded this, he says it was because he thought a second blast might happen, and if his family found his phone, they'd know he was looking for them, if you can believe that. Another strange occurrence I've come across is that it seems Shosek was stopping people from leaving via the foyer before the end of the concert. This is confirmed by a Jenny Brewster, who was interviewed by Sky News that night.
And so we did. We went to the bathroom and then we said, let's go now before the rush. So we walked towards where the MEN car park is, where we were parked, and there was a row of stewards stood in a line, stopping us getting through, but they were very friendly and they said, this isn't your best way, girls, you're best turning round, you can get to your car park that way. As I turn round, boom, one loud noise.
In a recent TV episode of a programme called Educating Manchester, a girl called Freya also described similar.
We was waiting to be let out to walk down to the foyer area, and while we was waiting no one would let us past, and all of a sudden we had like a massive explosion and it went quiet, and then everyone just started screaming and running.
I suspect in all the chaos that was going on, they haven't thought about the possibility of foreknowledge, which would explain why they would be refused access by security to a normal exit. Next, we'll go inside the arena itself. So now we'll look inside the arena itself. The media put out a wave of different videos in no order whatsoever, making it very difficult to work out a rough timeline as to who filmed what and when. So to try and get a handle on this, we'll look at the clips in what I believe are in the correct order based on the density of the people still in the arena. As you know, the bomb was set off in the foyer here. This first clip we'll watch is from a girl who filmed approximately here in the floor section. One thing is for sure, to counter any witnesses claiming that the explosion was before the end of the concert, this clip confirms it was not. Here we have a tweet from one of the videos we'll be looking at later, stating that the blast was approximately 3 minutes after the last song. In this clip it is filmed after the concert and manages to capture the sound of the blast. A Michael Jackson song can be heard and it's either 45 seconds into the song, or if it's the second chorus, around 2 minutes 20. Before we listen to the clip, you can see large parts of the arena have already left, tying in with the tweet that was previously shown.
god. What's going on? What just happened? What's going on? Oh my god! What's going on?
Whilst on its own it's a powerful video, let's look at the other videos that followed. This next clip is from approximately here and seems to be a person who is unsure as to what's going on, and you can just about make out that someone mentions something about a balloon. Someone on Twitter asked the person why they were filming, and they said it was because people were shouting it was a speaker. Now we're getting closer to the foyer with this next video, which was taken approximately here. As you cannot hear anybody say anything specific, a couple of people are pointing over towards the direction of the seats nearest to the foyer. This next clip is what I believe to be the closest video taken by someone in the arena that was nearest to the foyer, as they were approximately here.
Because people hear a bang and then they panic. Yeah, but running in one direction doesn't make any sense.
It's just people overreacting, or?
Yeah, I think so.
I'm thinking. I know, yeah.
I'm thinking, yeah. Well, if you're going to die, you might as well die at Ariana Grande. That's why she was saying bye.
The person who filmed this ended up making a YouTube video about his experience, and he says that he asked a member of Showsec what had happened, and this is their reply.
And we said to the security, we were like, what's going on, what was that bang? And they tried telling us that it was an aircon, like a vent that blew up or fell from the roof or something, and we were like, well, clearly it's not, because we would have seen it fall from the roof.
This next clip is from approximately here, and in this clip you'll hear them talking about a gunshot, but the male in the video says it's not a gunshot, it's a mic, which I presume he's meaning the speaker.
I think people thought it was a gunshot. It's not a gunshot, it was the mic. People think it's...
No, oh my god, I think she's like down there. What's happening? I don't know. I thought she was down there and got excited.
These next two clips have been synchronised together as they capture the same moment just at different parts of the arena. It is clear by this point the majority of the people have left the arena.
Ladies and gentlemen, please take your time. There's no need to bunch up. There's no problems here. Just take your time and keep exiting the building. There's no need to bunch up and run. Take your time. There's no problems here. Thank you for coming and having a good time tonight. Everything is fine. Just take your time exiting the building. Thank you very much. Walk slowly. There's no need to run. Thank you.
It is quite clear, as you could imagine, that there was a lot of confusion, and many people say that they heard gunshots, balloons, the speaker, or an AC unit and so on. This was the same on social media too, where there are many examples of these things being said by people in the arena. What I found strange at the time was the likes of Andy Holy, who I said before was the first person to contact the BBC, says the reason he's calling is because people are saying it was balloons popping. It's almost like he's trying to overrule other people's accounts.
I phoned up because so many reports are coming in that it was like a balloon and things not happening as it was. It was definitely an explosion and there's definitely a lot of fatalities.
Emma Johnson, the woman in the foyer who saw a man in a red jacket blow up, also said the same thing to the BBC.
I rang last night because there was reports of it was a balloon going off, it was a speaker exploded, and I had to tell the story for all those that had lost loved ones that it wasn't.
How is it that we have two people who have two conflicting versions of events, both which don't match the official narrative, yet they are making sure they inform the BBC that other people's accounts are incorrect? This tweet that I showed you earlier comes from this final clip. I cannot pinpoint where it fits into the timeline, but whilst the news showed it over and over, it's actually the person's account I'm more interested in. This is the girl who filmed that clip. She too also made a video and put it onto YouTube talking about her experience.
Ariana Grande went off stage after the last song Dangerous Woman, and the lights come on. Me and Eleanor sit down because everyone's like getting out of their seats ready to go, and we was like, oh, we'll just wait like 5-10 minutes until everything's calmed down and then we'll go. We thought like 5-10 minutes and everything's gonna calm down, and then we hear a loud explosion bang noise, which kind of scared us in a way, but we never thought anything of it of like it'll be a bomb. We thought it was just like loads of balloons popping at the same time or something. So we turned round, everything went silent, and bang, and we turned around again, and it was like when a farmer releases his gunshot into the sky and all the birds scatter in the sky.
So whilst the news were happy to use her video to push the official narrative, they didn't report on the fact that this girl heard 2 blasts, and this brings us on to the next chapter. So we ended this chapter with this girl's account from the night.
We thought like 5-10 minutes and everything's gonna calm down, and then we hear a loud explosion bang noise, which kind of scared us in a way, but we never thought anything of it of like it'll be a bomb. We thought it was just like loads of balloons popping at the same time or something. So we turned round, everything went silent, and bang, and we turned around again, and it was like when a farmer releases his gunshot into the sky and all the birds scatter in the sky.
Now it seems this girl was not the only one who heard 2 blasts, and it's clear that that was the case because the media originally reported it this way too. This girl wrote a letter to Ariana Grande, and here's what she said.
I'm Poppy, and I was at Ariana Grande's concert on Monday, and I've written her this letter. To Ariana Grande, I'm your #1 fan. I was at your concert on the 22nd of May 2017 in Manchester, and I am really sorry that someone set some bombs off. I hope you are okay and that you will still come back to England again to perform. Overall, you were so good and I can't describe how amazing you were. I am extremely sorry silly people do things like this, and I really hope you're not too scared. Keep writing and singing awesome songs. Love from your #1 fan. We just kind of started leaving, and then 2 bangs went off and everyone started screaming and running away. So I just decided to write this letter to Ariana Grande. I'm sorry.
An online local newspaper through Facebook had many comments from people also saying they heard 2 blasts. How can so many people hear 2 blasts if the official narrative is that only 1 was set off? Much after the event, around 1:30 in the morning, the police carried out a controlled explosion to what turned out to be a pile of clothes in church grounds over 300 metres away from the arena. Like Andy Holey and Emma Johnson trying to override people's accounts of hearing balloons, etc., have the police carried out this controlled explosion to make it seem like this was the second blast. That said, you can tell from these people's accounts the blasts were almost one after the other. Given the nature of this event and the emotional element to it all, it seems important details about this second blast are now totally forgotten about. As far as I can find, there are no videos from anyone leaving the arena via the foyer exits. Here's a video taken from someone approximately here, and I presume they're making their way out via the nearest exit as the foyer is behind them. This next clip is from someone leaving via the main back exit, which is here. These are the stairs at the back of the arena. Anyone who was in the foyer would have been captured in Zach Bruce's video, and if they wished, they could then come out of this train station exit and merge with the crowds that had come from the back stairs exit.
Bring it on.
to the arena to see concerts myself. When I saw this video, I thought to myself that the footage does not look much different to any other crowd leaving a concert, let alone one that's been evacuated. Here's a clip from another event, so how do they compare? It's only my opinion, but there's not much separating these two clips. To me, they both just look like crowds of people leaving a concert. In any case, after the bulk of the crowds had left, at around 11:20 PM, a local freelance photographer began taking pictures which would end up being the official photographs used by the media. Joel Goodman took this picture in 2016, claiming he was just at the right place at the right time, when in actual fact he was purposely going around Manchester taking photographs of people in drunken states. In the pictures he took for the Manchester Arena bombing, he managed to capture some people who would end up becoming key to the event, such as Safi Roussos' dad and brother. He also took a photograph of Safi's half-sister, who can be seen here sitting, yet was in the foyer with Safi at the time, as they were both leaving the concert, yet Safi was deemed to be missing. Now that we've worked our way through the Manchester Arena, looking at the basics which make up this attack, in the next chapter I'd like to provide you with my conclusion. Please note that this is simply my conclusion and opinion as to what happened on that night. I appreciate that I was not there, but this is based on the evidence given to me as a member of the public. My conclusion is based on reviewing other terror attacks and the evidence presented in them, because you will find the blueprint from them is very similar, no matter what occurred or where it happened. I hope that regardless of this documentary, you'll still formulate your own conclusion based on what research you do yourself. If you have seen elements of this narrative that have made you think more about Manchester, then this highlights how important it is that you do not take anything on face value. In the Hillsborough disaster that killed 96 people, if the public blindly accepted what the police and media told them, would there have been the same inquiry which concluded that both, in short, had lied about the official narrative? Well, not likely. Even now, 2 weeks after starting this documentary, the chapter regarding the official narrative is now changed. The police have recently reported that it is in fact 512 people that were injured. How can this figure keep going up after 6 months? There was an inquest in June which said that 220 people had been treated for blast injuries, so how has this figure now more than doubled? So now to my conclusion. In May 2016, a terror drill was being carried out in a shopping centre called the Trafford Centre in Manchester, whereby the scenario was that a terrorist walked in through an entrance and detonated their rucksack.
Frighteningly realistic.
It looks pretty real, right? Well, it seems drills are something that happens quite frequently prior to actual attacks. So for example, in London, Westminster, a drill was held 3 days before the Westminster Bridge attack in March 22nd, 2017. On the 7th of July 2005, a live drill was taking place the same day, and astonishingly, the scenario was exactly the same as the official narrative.
Today we were running an exercise for a company, bearing in mind I'm now in the private sector, and we sat everybody down in the city, 1,000 people involved in the whole organisation, but the crisis team, and the most peculiar thing was we based our scenario on the simultaneous attacks on the Underground and mainline station. So we had to suddenly switch an exercise from fictional to real. And one of the first things is, get that bureau number, when you have a list of people missing, tell them. And
So
it took a
just
long
to-
time.
Just to get this right, you were actually working today on an exercise that envisioned virtually this scenario.
Almost precisely. I was up until 2 o'clock this morning because it's our job. My own company, Visor Consultants, we specialise in helping people to get their crisis management response. How do you jump from slow time thinking to quick time doing? And we chose a scenario with their assistance which is based on a terrorist attack because they're very close to a property occupied by Jewish businessmen. They're in the city, and there are more American banks in the city than there are in the whole of New York. A logical thing to do. And I've still got the...
I was going to say, how extraordinary today must feel for you as it unfolds. You mentioned a few moments ago there.
Just so you know, Joe Goodman was also at the Trafford Centre drill taking photographs. As mentioned, the Manchester Arena foyer was in effect one big room, a public place that can be separated by simply closing the doors and blocking the movement of people. It is my belief that the reason why 2 blasts were heard by so many is because there were in fact 2 blasts. The first, similar to that of the Trafford Centre drill, that is loud enough to create a flash and some smoke, with the second being the sound recorded by the girl in the arena, but it has actually come from the speaker. So for example, people sitting or looking to leave via the foyer in seating area 106-206 hear the first blast, and it's enough to begin the panic within the arena. The second blast is needed only to get this across to the other people in the arena. Listen how the song cuts out, allowing the sound of the blast to come through the speaker, and then the music carries on straight after.
Oh my god. What's going on? What just happened? What's going on?
This would explain why so many people inside the arena had no idea what had happened. Some thought balloons because the foyer blast wasn't that big, and others saying the speaker because it actually was. Even this person, who wasn't that far away from the foyer area, doesn't know what had happened. How can that be? In effect, the smaller foyer blast scares the people nearest away from the foyer, with the speaker blast making sure the rest of the people in the arena run the other way and use other exits. Anyone leaving early like Jenny Brewster or Freya, who stated that they could not exit via the foyer because they were blocked off by Shosek prior to the blast, seriously suggests foreknowledge and the preservation of the foyer scene. This preservation and foreknowledge is highlighted too by the fact that a McDonald's of 17 years closed down 3 months before the attack. Have you ever heard of a McDonald's closing down, let alone one that serves not only people attending the UK's biggest indoor venue, but that too of a major train station? Understand, if the McDonald's was still open, you would also have members of the public in the foyer who were there for nothing more than getting something to eat. The same can be said about the staff, and it's for this reason why you couldn't have unapproved people in the foyer, as they may have seen what really had happened. Think about why no one was allowed in for the first hour, or the fire brigade being told to stand down. It's for the same reason. In order to control what was happening in the foyer, you could not have eyes all over it. The foyer is not completely destroyed by the official narrative bomb, because it was a small one, just like the Trafford Centre drill. No craters, no shattered glass. Darren Costa also said it was a small bomb too, but it didn't sound like that based on the Arena Girls video.
Oh my god.
Nor the dashcam video from 280 metres away. Then again, Zach Bruce, who was in the train station when he heard the blast, didn't think much of it either, as he just went back to his hotel.
That's because I just took the video. I heard the explosion. I took the video, and then I just walked to my hotel because I didn't think it was anything serious.
Again, his video is key because everyone you see here has just come from the foyer. Can you see anyone in the video with dust, debris, or blood on them? Why are they not screaming what has just happened, or telling people waiting at the bottom of the stairs? It is my opinion that Zach is ready and waiting to film people running down the stairs, and the small bomb noise is nothing more than a starter pistol giving them the cue to run. My view on this is further enforced by this upcoming clip. In this clip you'll see the same people from Zach's video casually walking out of the train station, again showing no signs of being in a room that's killed 22 people and injuring 512. Don't forget, these are the people that should make up part of the 512. More worryingly still is that in both clips, this girl and her mother can be seen. In Zach's video, they are running down the stairs, and in this one, they're casually walking out of the train station. This is the girl with her mother, and they're sharing a hospital room with others during a visit from the Queen. Now, if Zach Bruce was ready and waiting, then the person who filmed this was also ready and waiting. It just seems the media felt Zach's video looked more dramatic, which is why you may have never seen this other clip. The same can be said for the foyer photo versus the foyer video. I asked the question why the media have not shown the public the video. Well, the reason is because it goes against all the witnesses who have been put in front of a camera describing a scene that doesn't match. The fact is, just like Zach Bruce's video versus the other, the foyer photo looks worse than the foyer video, so they've had to run with that. Again, if the media are picking and choosing what they report on and what evidence they supply in support of what has happened, then they're not acting as journalists, they're simply following a script to make sure that they're all singing off the same hymn sheet to deliver the same message. That message being that whilst no evidence has ever been given to the public that the bomber entered the train station, lift, walkway or foyer has caused the deaths of 22 people. It's simply a case of giving you, the public, just enough pieces of information for you to believe that that is what has happened. Now, it might be at this point that you're thinking that this simply cannot be possible. At the end of the day, the official narrative is that children died. It is this emotional angle that keeps you blinded from reviewing their evidence, which we have looked at in this documentary, and furthermore, make it difficult to even talk about. Remember, foyer witnesses do not match the official narrative. The levels of damage do not match the official narrative. People who filmed and submitted content to the media do not match the official narrative, and even people who are supposed to be injured do not match the official narrative. There is a term coined called duping delight. It is described as the pleasure of being able to manipulate someone, often made visible to others by flashing a smile at an inappropriate time. Serial killers have been caught off guard by this reaction when lying about their story, when in their mind they think they're getting away with it, and this reveals a smile.
At night, when I close my eyes, I can see Christy reaching her hand out to me while I'm driving, and the blood just keep coming out of her mouth. And that, maybe it'll fade too with time, but I don't think so. That haunts me the most.
The Manchester Arena bombing is not without duping delight. I mentioned that this girl is sharing a room with others during the Queen's visit. This other girl can't help but give off duping delight even when asked if the incident was scary.
I was in the foyer, but yeah, I was just walking out to meet my dad because he was picking me and my friend up from the concert, and then it went off behind us. And I just remember the explosion and my ears just started ringing for ages, and then there was just people screaming and things like that.
Yeah, so it must have been really, really scary.
Yeah, it was quite scary, but just gotta get through it really.
Remember, this is a young girl caught up and injured in a terror attack, and she's smiling. She isn't the only one. Andy Holey's daughter was also in the Liverpool Echo's interview, and she too cannot help but smile regardless of the questions being asked.
Did you sort of know what had went on, or?
I knew straight away it was a bomb when it went off. Me and my mum was just about to go through the doors, and it was really loud. Everyone just froze for a minute, and then everyone just started to run.
So what did you think of it then? I know you knew your dad was standing outside waiting on you, or did you just not have time to think of that?
I'm more focused about getting my mum out because she looked like she was going to faint, and we just went the opposite way, and I just tried to get out first.
How about this girl?
Jess, where were you when the explosion happened?
We were right just above where it happened, really. We were about to go down the stairwell into the concession area where it happened, and we heard the explosion. Everybody turned to the left, screamed and started running. So me and my friend who I was with, we just went back to the stage area, the main concert area, and just tried to get away from the mass of people that were stampeding out, really.
Or this girl who sustained perforated eardrums but left the hospital after 5 hours and is unfazed about going on national television, again smiling as if it's nothing.
And it's other people's, and it's just really, like, you don't expect it, and you're just looking around, and at the time you're lucky, but you're not. I just remember looking and being covered in blood, and other people's flesh was in my hair, and I just knew I had to get out in case something else happened. And I remember just grabbing her and sort of grabbing her hand and just running. As we both fell over, the people in the front in front of us took the brunt of the explosion, so I only have, they're not that severe, but they're quite severe injuries to my legs. I've got shrapnel that's been removed from my lower leg, and it's one of those nail bombs, so there's like bolts and nails, that's what pulled the skin out. There's massive chunks of skin missing. I'm just really happy we're both okay.
Whilst it's not quite the same, even in Prince Charles's visit, everyone is standing in the very arena smiling and laughing the day after the attack. The arena was closed, so why are these people in their work clothes?
So I would first aid. Don't put drips in. No, not yet. Doesn't make a big difference. I think I'm president of the Red Cross and I try to do my refresher in first aid.
As mentioned, once the majority of the people had left the arena, the photographer then comes into play to capture the moment for the benefit of the media. Some pictures were taken by others, such as this one, which shows a girl who was injured using their phone despite reportedly having a severed artery in their wrist. This girl was also in the hospital room during the Queen's visit. In short, I believe this attack has been staged just like the Trafford Centre drill, just without ear defenders or goggles. So now you must be thinking, why? Not only does this seem impossible to carry out, regardless of what I've shown you, why would people do this? The saying goes, money is the root of all evil, and my goodness has this event raised some money. It is reported that £250,000 has been given to each of the families who lost a relative, with various grades of money given to those who were injured. This money has been raised primarily by the public, you. The public have been told various lies, and you've been asked to give your money to the cause. When you watch interviews of people involved, no one is angry about what has happened.
I have no feelings of hate, anger at all, because I don't think this person deserves any of those emotions I should invest in. I'm staying with my positivity for Martin, and that's what I want to hold on to.
There was an opening inquest in June, and none of the family members affected attended. It seems strange to me, as I personally would want to know anything and everything about what had happened. Why do you think duping delight can be seen on some people? It has been a case of let off balloons, have a couple of benefit concerts and move on. GoFundMe and other websites of the like are utilised as a means of raising money from the public. They keep a percentage and then it's distributed as and when. Terror attacks are a serious money spinner. How many are you willing to see in the news before you get fed up of them? Are you just going to keep lighting candles, letting off balloons and giving some money to a website only to repeat it next time? The media et al. Tell you that love is stronger than hate and other phrases like they won't win. But this is a form of control to stop you from finding out the truth, or at very least look for it. They want you to accept anything they throw at you. Take a look at the Parsons Green tube train bomb. Regardless of it being just a bucket in a plastic carrier bag, they tell you that 30 people were injured, and the public just buy it. Just like the foyer, can you see signs on the train wall of any blast damage? No. So maybe at this point you might be thinking this is all too far-fetched, it just cannot be done. So let's quickly look at some other examples. Orlando, Florida, 2016. Regardless of zero CCTV footage of the perpetrator entering the nightclub, he is reported to have killed 49 people and injuring 58. Even though during a long standoff with police, who blocked both ends of the street, a small camera crew are allowed to capture the moment as injured patrons walk by. The problem is, they're walking in the wrong direction and are actually heading back towards the nightclub. In this clip, you can see the man that they are carrying doesn't realise that they're still being filmed, and despite being shot in both legs, they put him down and he's fine.
Over and over again. They didn't immediately go inside that building because there was an active shooter. They were trying to figure out how to get everyone out and also get in to try to take down that shooter.
This gentleman here claims to have been shot 4 times with an assault rifle, yet miraculously he's out of the hospital the next day. There are many issues with this event, but these two are very simple and unquestionable problems with the official narrative. And the money raised for that event? $30 million. New York, 2001. A lesser-known building called the World Trade Center 7 falls at free-fall speed for no reason. Whilst originally overlooked in the official report following 9/11, the eventual explanation for this impossible feat was down to office fires on some of the floors. Worse still, the BBC managed to report that this building came down before it actually did.
More now about that from our correspondent Jane Stanley. Jane, what more can you tell us about the Salomon Brothers building and its collapse?
Well, only really what you already know. Details are very, very sketchy. There's almost a sense downtown in New York behind me, down by the World Trade Centers, of just an area completely closed off as the rescue workers try to do their job.
Newtown, Connecticut, 2012. His father must not have realised the cameras were rolling as he walked up to do a press conference, as he had a big smile on his face before getting into character to talk about his daughter, who was shot and killed the day before.
So we'll see if Robbie Parker, I assume he's going to come out to the microphones now and make a statement. Looks like the family is there and they're getting ready to come to the microphone, so we'll listen in.
Okay. So my name's Robbie Parker.
Are these things limited only to America? Of course not. It's a terror tour. It's worldwide. Before we go to other events around the world, the US had a key part in the official narrative for the Manchester Arena bombing. Don't forget, they were the ones who were leaking the bomber's name and pictures of his backpack. Whatever did come of this in the end? Well, who knows, because the media will only report on what they want to tell you. Did you ever see this picture? Well, from my research, this is in fact the first ever use of the picture online. How is it that a UK-based reporter for a US paper not only has the picture, but can confidently say it's fake? Whether it is or not from the night, I cannot say because the source is unknown, like a lot of pictures that were put out to the public. It did seem strange that a newspaper based in Birmingham here in the UK said this too. The point is, if you look at the American terror events and think that the UK ones are somehow different from them, that's not the case, and America has their name all over the Manchester Arena event too, and that includes the performer. Nice, France, 2016. This is the truck that ran over people, killing 86 and injuring 458, yet not one drop of blood can be seen. Also, the authorities ordered the deletion of the CCTV cameras from that night. France again, Paris, 2015. This is a terrorist who walked into a cafe and blew himself up. Providing CCTV of this actually made this one worse, as it shows the bomber blow up and disappear with the cafe patrons perfectly okay. During the same attack in France, whilst you'll find no evidence of this, it is reported that a suicide bomber tried to enter a football stadium, was refused entry, and he blew himself up, killing only but himself. The only evidence of this happening is what sounds like a blast through the stadium speakers. The football match wasn't stopped though. Westminster Bridge, London, 2017. A man has driven a car across a bridge, killing 4 and injuring 49 before going on to stab and kill a policeman. This is a video taken showing people that had been hit by the car that went over the bridge. Problem is, in this video clip, even though the car is supposed to have already gone by, the same person can be seen taking pictures of Big Ben. Despite London being one of the most monitored cities in the world, what footage has the public been given? This, a blurry, unclear video from a building X amount of metres away. How about our relatives in Australia? Melbourne, 2016. This couple went on national television claiming that their baby, regardless of the laws of physics, was hit by a car sending their young baby 150 metres down the road, and can even smile while saying it.
Did little Zara survive the initial impact of the car? She was thrown, according to her parents, 150 metres along Burke Street. To put that into context for you, that is almost 3/4 of one city block. That she simply survived is amazing. I find it totally miraculous.
Yeah, it is. It's a miracle.
That a child can go
150
metres through the air.
Yeah. Yeah, she's...
Let alone survive, be not that badly injured.
Yeah, and that's...
Again, there has been no CCTV evidence showing a vehicle hitting any pedestrians, but still the media are happy to allow people the platform to talk of their account, no matter how impossible it is. There are so many issues with terror attacks that this documentary could last a lifetime, and it's for this exact reason why you must look into these things yourself. Do you think the increase of armed police is going to be for your benefit? Do you think installing bollards is going to be for your benefit? How about the installation of metal detectors at concert venues? It's not about keeping you safe, but about keeping you in fear and under control, and these attacks are concocted to do just that. Not only that, you are giving your money to them for them to provide you with these lies. Finally, going back to Manchester, you'll no doubt at some point thought about the funerals of those involved. I don't claim to know how they managed to pull these things off to the detail, but remember, in the case of Westminster, they held one big funeral for the policeman that was stabbed. If the car didn't go over the bridge, then the stabbing couldn't have happened. If the foundations of the story are questionable or downright wrong, then the whole event is under question. Again, please research and review evidence yourself and do not take anything on face value. With the bomber's inquiry still to be done in December 2017, Chris Parker's court hearing in January 2018, and the final Manchester report due in April 2018, be vigilant for any changes in the details compared to what you have watched today.